Oh boy, did I upset a lot of people on the last L322 video. You know, the one where we sent it back? Well, just a little update for you on this one. I'm Ed, this is Backroad Hero. So there you go, folks. I upset a lot of people on the last L322 video. I was called all sorts of names. Some people actually liked the video as well. But a little bit of controversy, or controversy, depending on how one you speak it, zoomed the this last L322 video up to 33,000 or something like that. It did 10,000 views in the first few days, which was absolutely beyond what I'd even expect. It zoomed us rapidly through the 1,000 subscribers needed to be monetized. You'd be glad to hear I've earned about £72 so far. Anyway, it hardly seems worthwhile. And for the other half that really liked the video, we gave them a heads up on what to do when things go a little bit wrong. It's really unfair to tarnish all used car dealers under the same brush. I used to be one. I used to have a business dealing in modern classics, everything from Audi Quattros through to BMWs 8 Series and R32 Golfs and interesting stuff. It gives you an idea that this never intended to be a video about returning a car using your rights, your legal rights on the Consumer Rights Act 2015 in order to return a vehicle for a refund. But we threatened to do that. We never officially served them notice that we were going to do it, unless the couple of big issues that were addressed. We paid 16 grand for this 2010 4.4 TDV8. And for those of you unfamiliar with the cars, that's right at the top end of retail for a Vogue spec. In fact, you could probably buy a Westminster for less money, and possibly newer as well. But Robin liked the color combination, the blue, along with the kind of the light leather piped in blue. He'd set his mind on it. It's merely a tow car for us. It's an extra car. So your comments, thanks for the feedback. It seemed to polarize. It was a little contentious, I know. Perhaps it's the way I came across. Some people say, what do I expect buying a 10-year-old car for a fraction of its original purchase price? I can't expect a perfect car. So if you looked at it, the first bits and pieces that we went and looked around the car, there's a playlist on this, a couple of videos previous, so if you've just jumped in on this one, it might be a good idea to have a look at the other two and kind of bring yourself up to speed. But to summarize, we saw this one online, went up to have a look at it, and of course I was nitpicking. I was picking various bits and pieces that were missing, and that's all part of the negotiating process. I must come from a long line of Irish horse traders somewhere in the past, because it's just in me. I buy cars from auction, I buy them privately, and of course we buy them from dealerships. Now, the perspective and the expectations are completely different depending on what way you've purchased the car. I'll address the one about being able to run these things. Yes, they're expensive to run, they're expensive to buy, and what did I expect buying an old Range Rover? It's going to break down, it's going to give trouble. All cars do, believe it or not. This is Robin's car. I was brought along to have a good look over it, hopefully negotiate the price, and take it from there. So we did the test drive. We saw a few bits and pieces that needed addressing. But mostly it's a good car. It only has 88,000 miles on it, and it's the right spec. It's the TDV8 with the 8-speed box and the 4.4 litre V8, over 300 horsepower in this car. So it drives really well. It's a really pleasant place to sit, and it's perfect for as a tow car for the E46 Racer, which is primarily what it's done. I know what it's like to be on one side of the fence. I know what it's like to be on the other. So it's really unfortunate that some used car dealers really get tarnished with the same brush. There are a lot of really good guys out there preparing their vehicles in accordance with what you'd expect yourself as a buyer. There are the others that'll just wash it, reset the service lights, do nothing, and pass it on down the road. That's the other extreme. And there are various shades of grey in the middle of that. So I know what I'm talking about, I know what my expectations are, and with this particular car we paid full retail. We paid well over the odds, and we expected the car to be inspected and retailed in that fashion. So when things start going wrong, or you start noticing things, it's the true mark of a garage or a dealership in how they actually deal with it. The reason we threatened to reject the car is A, we knew we'd overpaid for it, and B, we weren't prepared to spend any more money putting it right ourselves. We knew there was a second key to get coded, fair enough. We knew we'd have to add a tow bar. Those were all expenses that we were going to take. So all in all, this turns out to be a 17 grand car when it's kind of finished and into the sort of specification. Then to go and spend another £1,500 doing the prop shaft bearing, doing it properly with a new prop shaft, and another 700 odd pounds to get the belts done was just way too much over the odds. That puts it into, 18 and a half, nearly 19 grand's worth of car, and it's just not worth that. So there you go. So that's the reason why we threatened to reject the car. We didn't officially do so, unless that the two major issues, which was the prop shaft bearing and the belts, were addressed, and they duly were. Picked up the phone to Fort Used Cars. Jazz, the service messenger manager there, was very good. We got the car in, and well, they kept it for 2 weeks once they got everything sorted, and needless to say, it was all done. So for those of you that are saying, how dare I threaten the Consumer Rights Act 2015, I know all about that, being on the other side of the fence. But as a customer, I also know my rights. So we were very prepared just to hand the car back, get our money back, and wait patiently down the line until another good one came up. And it didn't bother us either way, the way it worked. Yes, we'd spent the money, but we also had the right to return the vehicle within the 30-day period. Now, we forced their arm a little bit in order to get the maintenance work that should have been done, but the belts should have been done at 10 years anyway on this vehicle. And it was, there was no record of that. And why would we have to, spend the money ourselves down the line? The car's been fixed. It's driving beautifully. There's no squeaks from the belts. There's no shudder from the drivetrain. And we're really happy. We're happy with the way that Ford dealt with us in the after sales department to get the various bits and pieces addressed. Now, granted, some of that may or may not have been known to them, depending on how much they actually drove the car and PDI'd it. But certainly the various bits and pieces, the clips and surround, that was third-party work that should have been inspected as well. We got the fuel flap sorted. It's merely just a little clip, so we can now put fuel in it without the the wrestling of getting the fuel flap open. And this is going to be a fantastic addition to the fleet. I think I'm at 10 cars at the minute. Robin's at 5, makes 15 between us. And if you're wondering whether we can afford to run them or not, neither of us have any car payments. We own all the vehicles outright. So that makes it much more affordable then, in order to just buy an older car and pay for the maintenance that's required to keep them on the road. For all of those that actually liked the video and commented in a positive way, I've never seen any content really split people in two directions just so extremely. So yes, okay, it was a little bit contentious on my part, but it seems to be that the video's done really well. It zoomed us through the 1,000 subscriber mark. We're at 2,000 at the minute, just a few weeks after, and it really has helped to propel the channel. It wasn't intentional, I have to say. We never intended for the material on this car to be I bought the cheapest Range Rover in the land and what's wrong with it type thing. We always want to buy the best of anything. That makes this a bit different as a channel perhaps. I'm there as a serial collector to find the best examples in the country to use. The reason we chose an L322, by the way, was the fact that they actually put this 4.4 litre engine into the L322 in the last few years of production. This engine and gearbox combination with the 8-speed box was carried all the way through the L405. In order to get a half decent 405 though, we're going to have to go to an extra £10,000, about 25 grand to pick up a half decent one. And these drive wonderfully. They're comfortable, they're smooth. Thanks to everyone. Apologies, by the way, it came across perhaps to the used car fraternity. I know there's a lot of good guys out there. You're doing your best, you're knocking your pan in, as they say back home, trying to provide good service and good cars for everyone. Rely on the PDI to put the cars out properly and not rely on someone noticing when they're not quite right. More on the L322 as we use it. Going to keep the playlist open for this one and say who knows where we're going to go. I'm going to do a full review on it once we get sort of a bit further down the line, so you can look forward to that. So do the old likey subscribey thing. You obviously like what we're doing. We've got plenty of cars to play with. Bought the 7 Series at auction a couple of weeks ago. The E38 1996 car, individual paint, individual interior, 85,000 miles from new. So I'm in the business of doing a light restoration on that one. Looking really forward to getting some travels and journeys on that. The same auction, Robin bought a gorgeous 2006 4.2 supercharged XKR, so we'll get more on that in the channel as well. So there you go. Lots of movements, lots of fun, lots of auctions. Thanks for following the journey and the story. Think of me as a bit like Harry's Garage, Harry Metcalf, I suppose. These are cars that we're buying for ourselves. They're not being bought merely for YouTube. I did indicate maybe the BMW would be for sale. The more I work on it and the more I actually understand the car, it's a cracking bit of kit. I won't be in any rush to sell it. So if you haven't done the likey subscribey thing, do all that. You know, you can find me on Facebook and Twitter and all the rest of on Instagram. All the links are down below. You'll see some of this more of the day-to-day stuff that I'm doing along the way. Going to be a breezy day tomorrow, blue skies. I've got to go to work. I've got to go to Larnaca and back, and I'm not looking forward to this the storm that's due. Anyway, less of my day job and more fun. Thanks for watching. All the best now. Bye bye.